All right. So we're going to hope glitch doesn't keep happening, but it seems to be because of overpowered light and it messes with the camera. But either way, so this is the final 48. Today was one of the most interesting days of my entire life, no doubt. So remember before when I was saying they had the stimulation thing? So they have this box, you know, hooked up. Um, Not that glowing thing behind it, but something similar. So basically, this is hooked up, and then they systematically go through the 15 nodes and set little electrodes through it, little electricity currents, different kinds of things. Um, Now, before I was just doing it um, with just like hand pressed keys, like I would press what a C or a D would be on a keyboard. Today, I was just reading. It was really wild. So they gave me um, some weird, like old English story about a leprechaun. Of course, I had to make that joke. Is that supposed to be me? Because there's a big picture of a leprechaun that looks almost exactly like me at the top of the page. So we started out great, um, but then it was just wild as hell. So you're reading, and there's people manipulating your brain. So you'll be reading, and all of a sudden, you're like, "Wow, hey guys," because you have to basically say anything different, and then they interview you. Like what? Like, well, this whole person over here just kind of crystallized and became dots, and this is real. And, but you're not getting panicked. And like, oh, okay, so then they like turn it down. So you're being played like an instrument. It is the coolest thing I've ever felt. I mean, sex, psychedelics, fails in comparison. When you have somebody playing your brain and creating visual images and references and thoughts, right? So the story is about a leprechaun. It was about a mom who gives her daughter clogs, and every morning she wakes up and the clogs are worn down, and she's not wearing them. So she's like, "How is this happening?" It's because of some leprechaun, something something. But it's written in weird English, like old English. So it's like there's the bless, not old English, but not proper English. And student or not, well read in public or not, it was just clunky. So I got through it, and there were some very interesting things. Just be like reading, and then I'd be like, oh, I'd be adding words that were either not there at all or made sense in the sentence as the sentence was changing in my brain. Say the real sentence was, I went down the hill. I'd be like, I went to go to the store, something else. And wherever that came from, it was a combination of maybe in my head, I'm actually seeing myself go to the store, or I was getting ahead of myself and I just added the word store. I don't know. You'd be like, well, I mean, I know it says I went down the hill, but somewhere I saw I went to the store, but caught myself. Now, there's various degrees of that. Um, and they're basically, so the key or the point is, there's still, we have our three uh, seizures, so they're good. Um, they know where it's coming from. It was like a 94% percentile of what where they all thought this was. Everything's going exactly the way they would hoped. There's no like surprise areas. So this was like just an even further percentage um, of theory. Like again, they were hoping to get 90 to 100 anyway. Started out at 94, and then today just got even closer and closer. So we're at like 97%, you know, something like that. So yeah, dude, it was unbelievable. No one will ever understand what this is like if you're sitting there reading stuff, and um, the reading is just basically keeping you active. It's not the story isn't so important. But you'd be reading all something. Oh, Luke and Laura popped in from General Hospital from the '80s. What are you talking about? So I'm reading, and you're like, and oh wait, for some reason I see Laura and Luke. I'll be reading, and be like, oh, and George Harrison's singing Blackbird, even though it's Paul McCartney, whatever these things are. So they would have to stop and say, okay, and you would try to describe the difference. You're like, all right, it's not a memory, and it's not my deja vu that turns into a seizure. Like I know the song Blackbird. I know George Harrison sings it. Just because I'm currently reading a story about a leprechaun doesn't mean that's all your brain has to focus on, you know? So I'll be like reading it about the clouds and the leprechaun. And, oh my God, for some reason I hear George Harrison, but it wasn't like your normal. Oh, wait, that's right, because George Harrison was on the radio in the outside. Oh God, because he was having it and this car drove by into my seizures. Uh, it wasn't that. It was just things popping into your mind. But now some of them turned into wow. Like again, so there was a male on my right and two females on my left. Now there was points where, and if you heard any of my stuff before, I always go to the left. So there was a point today where the man on the right literally matrix glitched out, like he was crystallized, like dot matrix. I knew he was there, but most of him was disappearing into the wall. Like the color of the wall. Um, Yeah. So like think of a really shitty high res picture. But in real life, in real time, as I know what's going on, not panicking, just being like, oh wow, I forget his name, but say Bob. I'd be sitting there like, oh wow, Bob, while you're disappearing, you're disintegrating, but I know you're there. And then we just say, okay, take a pause, pick out something else, and then keep reading. Um, it was it is the most mind boggling feeling I will ever have. There is nothing that's ever going to compare it to today. Uh, yeah, it's like shit. So tonight they take all the stuff out, um, all the wires out, but leave the bolts for tomorrow 7 a.m. They take out all the bolts, and then I don't know, sit around for a day, and then I leave Saturday. So far this whole thing's been extremely successful. This is all, you know, exactly what they thought. Like I don't have to get this huge thing cut in my head. I don't have to get that SRR device. I have this little area in my hypothalamus, lower left hypothalamus, something, which was what they were hoping the whole time. Uh, and yeah, so this basically just proved their point, or like a scientist, whatever you would say, proved it enough to be like they are very confident they can take care of this. Great news, to say the least. Now, it was so wild though, man. So then the second story I had to read was like a Brothers Grimm story, which is just really strange language. Not the content, but just thou shall partake in thy restauranteering, whatever. It's not current English. So we only got through half of that, and they switched out to a more modern story. So like, all right, this is. They couldn't tell how much was me just bastardizing this English, or me having these skips because the word was odd, and I couldn't tell you the last time I read stories in public. Period. So we were having a good time with it though, because they were appreciating the fact that I was so into it and not like tweaked out. Apparently, this tweaks some people out. I can't imagine why, but apparently, not everyone is as like uh, positive or interested about it. Having your brain being manipulated in real time is an intense statement. It is an intense thing, but there's like a roller coaster of emotion because you'll be reading. Hold on, I didn't. I know the word says shell. I said shall. I saw the e, but for some reason I said shall. But oh wait, for some reason Mickey Mouse is doing something. So a lot of mine turned to whether it's childhood, I don't know, but a lot of my stuff was like TV oriented and child oriented, like Mickey Mouse, Minnie Mouse. And I'd be like, oh wait, no, wait, that's not a scene from Fantasia. But as I'm reading the sentence, like, you know, a bucket of water, and I would smile, like a bucket of water. Oh wait, and in my head, I'm like, bucket of water. Oh, that's what is it? That's Fantasia, right? Where he's getting all the water up and the sorcery. But by the time I stopped and tried to say it, it went down, so I couldn't describe it fully. I just be like, yeah, well, you know, and the bucket of water, which is what it really said. Bucket of water, really. Oh, but then that bucket of water would trigger the Fantasia scene just to be dissipated within the same like breath. There was three that got like up to here, and you like she literally controlled it, like she turned it. It's like a dial. She's like, oh, okay, just let me know. Is it better? Yeah, and she turned it down. It's insane. Not insane, but it's wild as hell. So yeah, man, I would love to do that. That'd be cool. Uh, yeah, if you can get a home version of that. Elon Musk, aren't you working on something Neuralink? What's that? Can you do this? Because this is interesting. This is like if there's no permanent damage, it's like drawing on your brain in real life without the Google Glass or anything else. It's just my lord. Uh, a good analogy they said I had was I'm like, look, I bleed, women bleed. Doesn't mean I can say anything about menstruation. So it's like, unless you actually go through this, there's nothing you can describe for you to understand. Uh, the Matrix is the closest, everyone knows that. But I mean, when you're literally watching someone disintegrate in front of you and not panic, wow. If we can figure out how to sell that, we'd make a million. So yeah, so here we go. We got my IV. Where is it? We got the final IV in here. There she is. So this is the final IV to give me the liquids because they're taking these out, or just the wires off, but leaving all the bolts on. And then tomorrow morning at 7 a.m., they take all the bolts out. Uh, so, we're not 100% out of the woods, as they say, but it went about as best as anyone could expect for brain surgery. And it was really cool. I mean, compared to the day before, if you saw my other video where it's all glitchy, the screen, I don't know what the hell was going on there. My body was glitchy. The screen itself was glitchy. And I was just so hot. I didn't sleep at all. I was just sitting here all last night till 7 in the morning, like just wide awake. Um, Now, I assume it's a combination of I only pooped once since I've been here for 8 days. So I got a shit ton of laxatives. Joke, copyrighted. Um, I had a lot of laxatives in me still. Um, Pain meds for the bolts, and then they have these certain pain meds for your jaw when you eat on them too. And then Tylenol, and and then they restarted my seizure meds that I take at home. So I think it was that. Like, I don't take a lot of drugs, so all these drugs at one time, I was just speeding my face off in a panic mode. But when we watched it on TV and all, when they were back, it was just an elevated heart rate. It had no connection like other elevations. Again, like I always say, my heart, when it goes up, it goes up. Oh, here it comes into the seizure. I go into the darkness, wake up later. This I did not. Uh, yeah, so it was cool. That's all I can say. Any questions? I don't know, but you can ask me anything you want. But that was wild as hell. And yeah, tomorrow I just get to lay around in the hospital. Oh, tomorrow I get to take a shower, which is great because all the stuff's out of my head. But they can't let me out yet. So I get to walk around, which is just going to be strange. I haven't used my legs in 9 days. And then they have these things on you that squeeze your leg to prevent blood clots and all. But I haven't stood up. So looking forward to getting out of here. Hopefully, now we don't know about the reschedule either. So this is all for surgery. I'm going to go home for at least 2 weeks because all these holes in my head have to heal on their own. And they say it doesn't take long because it's like I don't know, microscopic, but they're really small holes. Uh, so all these have to fill, and then they have to go by how they're open in their schedule. So most likely October's done, and then November I imagine I'm going to come in here for the real deal, and then hopefully be cured, which would just be unbelievable. Now, on that note, right, that is what I'm most concerned about. I know this one's long, 15 minutes. If you're still with me, I love you. But like I said before, the main thing I'm panicking about is I've been on hard psychoactive drugs for what, 8 years, 9 years? I mean, we're talking like this shit is no joke. They give it to bipolar people. I mean, it is anyone that has ever met me before my seizures and versus my post seizures. No, I am different. Good ways, bad ways, a combination of ways. Now, I think I might have already went over this, but the most recent drug was the worst. I mean, I was just a flat line. I'm like, oh, look, there's a bird. That's cool. I think the bird's going to run into that house and die. Wow, that's a shame. It was just too much of a flat line. Like, at least the other ones, it was like, moods. So they switched that. And that is, so I'm on something else. And hopefully just for this little while, the thing that restarted, I'll be on that for like the next couple of weeks until I get the surgery again. And then, but then after that, I don't know what the hell it's going to be like. It's pretty much not going to get my memories back. I was hoping there'd be some kind of like, think about it as a hard drive, right? We all know I've had 80 to 89% of my memories gone. Long term, short term, all of it. So I was kind of hoping, I might have heard one of them say like, oh yeah, well no. And then after this, that part of your brain opens up and all those, you can go through your box of memories. But that is not true. So reality is I'm not going to have any memories again, but I will most likely be able to create new ones, which is positive. But also if you have a strange life like myself, it's almost like a Pandora's box. If someone said, hey, if you had the option to delete all your memories, good and bad, what would you do? Now, depending on how much of a shitty person you are, if you're a great person, you probably want them all. If you've done some questionable things, like, all right, yeah, you're not so proud of that, growing up, as they call it, and some of your decisions weren't that great, that's like a decent luxury. Now, unfortunately, it hurts other people because some people are like, wow, yeah, like fun ones would be like, dudes would be like, yeah, dude, remember when we went to see Morphine at the Horde Fest in Pennsylvania, dude? And like I have a ticket stub. I know what happened. Details? No. That. But then also, when you have someone like, someone's like, dude, do you remember when you fucking did this? You're like, no. So it's a blessing and a curse. It's weird. It's what it is. I hope I get some memories back. Some nice ones would be sweet. I hope I can maintain new thoughts because I don't know what I'm going to do for a job. I've pretty much understood, come to terms. I can draw, I can paint. I cannot animate and do these videos like I used to. The timing is like to sit around and spend 20 minutes trying to make an educational video with animations and editing and all that. It has become really, really, really difficult. Just attention span, mostly just attention span. And the fact it's a lot to do. I mean, not being cocky, but It's a shit ton of stuff. Photoshop ain't easy. After Effects ain't easy. It's a lot of just thousands and thousands of little processes to get to the bigger process, the biggest finale. So, whew, I don't know how I'm going to do that. Anyone can draw on paper. Whether someone likes it or not, that's somebody else's idea. But anyone can turn a blank thing into a pretty thing. I have to focus on that and figure out how to take that to the masses, but in a serious way. Like I don't know, man. It's something with kids. After this experience, I mean, remember, there's kids that had to go through this, right? Like 9-year-olds. This is all the life they ever known. This didn't start happening to me till I was 39. So I had a whole life. So I think that's what I got to figure out, like how to cheer up kids that have to do this. Because this is, as much as I thought it was cool watching a dude disintegrate, that might scare a kid to the point where they don't want to go through with it, or their parents or something. So, any suggestions, any help? But yeah, uh, again, I feel like I could keep talking for an hour trying to describe how wild that was, man. Reading out loud and reading things aren't there, but your mind's filling it in. As the real world changes and dissipates around you and shifts a little bit and temperature rising, it is, yeah, it's neat. So 21 minutes. Thank you. They're coming in soon to take all this stuff off. And unfortunately, even though this is my channel and you're my people, I can't live stream anything. I asked them. They think I'm crazy when I do it, but I'm like, is there any way I can live stream you taking this stuff out? They're like, yeah, no, that's HIPAA, some law, some privacy thing. I'm like, okay. I'm like, but if it's my body and it's my video, my channel and my fans, what privacy are you talking about? I think it's just they don't want to give away the secrets. And again, it's competition, right? Who can race to get to the very first vaccine? Who can race to cure epilepsy? All that. So I think it's more than being sly and coy, being like, nah, we want to make sure we got all this stuff completely under control. Don't blame them at all. I am not complaining. But wow, yeah. This is one of the most intense weeks in my life. Today being the coolest. Not, yeah, I don't know how this will affect my art, but it has to affect it somewhat positively. Like, I hope I don't become just normal after this. Like my buddy said, I hope they didn't find the screw that was loose and turn me into a normie. Holy God, that would be horrible. Where all of a sudden I just been boring and plain. That's I'd rather have the epilepsy. So yeah, so let's hope it doesn't affect my art negatively. Hopefully it makes my art better. Makes me appreciate the world more, which it has, that's for sure. I lost a couple people that I hope I can get back, but at the same time I understand, you buy a bag of apples and one in the middle is rotten, how it kind of screws up the bag. Yeah. That's self-loathing stuff, but yeah, so I'm going to be a better person no matter what. Even if I still have seizures, I've learned enough. I am going to be a much better person. That wasn't even that horrible. I mean, it's degrees. You ask 5 different people, you probably get 4.5 different answers. So yeah, thanks for letting me ramble on this one. It's something, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. The one last one, once I have all these out. Hopefully, my doctor is cool enough. He'll let me take a picture at least, like while I'm underneath. Like, dude, between me and you, just take a picture of it. Don't show anything, don't say anything. Just a picture or two, because I don't really know what this looks like. He's a cool young dude. We'll see, but I really hope so, because why not? Posterity. 24 minutes. All right, dude. Yeah. So thanks again. And I really hope this helps somebody. Uh, yeah, because it sounds scary when someone's like, hey, yeah, we're going to drill skulls. I keep saying that. Drill holes in your skull to put cameras on your brain. That is just an intense statement. I don't care where you are. That's intense. Have a good night. See you tomorrow. Hopefully, I can sleep tonight and I'll just wake up, immediately get put under anesthesia for hours, come out with nothing on my head, take a shower, wait a couple hours, and then go see my cat and some people. Uh, but I can't do a lot either. That's what I already asked you too. I can't like bend over. I can't lift things over 5 pounds. So it's going to be an adjustment, and they'll go through all that tomorrow. Like I don't have any discharge orders yet. So uh, yeah, love you all, even though I don't met you. But that's the new way, dude. Now I understand it all. It's hard to hate somebody when you go through such insane stuff. You know, like I don't know. I mean, I don't even know what to say anymore. But yeah, for anybody out there, go through it. If you're hesitant because you're afraid they're gonna like, my first big thing obviously was going to be like they were doing it in sneeze and just, and that's it, and I won't be able to talk or my face won't move. Like mistakes, not their lack of education or anything. My whole thing was just a mistake, which they still could have. But I would say take that risk there, people. What else? Let's show you a picture. Let's end. Let's end on some art. Why not? Since I'm delirious, and they moved it on me. I don't know where it is. Oh well. So yeah, you're probably bored of it anyway. There's probably no one watching this late. So good night, goodbye, take care. There it is. Hooked up to a machine. There it is. There's that IV keeping me alive. All right. Oh, right on time. There she is. I'm gonna turn it off. This is the end of my live stream. You want to say hi, or are we done?
Oh no, thanks. I think that there could be like legal ramifications for us to be in a live stream. I don't know. The social